Hey, this is Tony with Salt Strong, and if you are having problems with your line spooling onto your reel evenly, then this video is definitely for you. Now, what I mean by this is when you spool up your line, you either have too much line at the base of your spool, you have a larger diameter of line at the base than you do at the top, or vice versa. You might have too much line at the top of your spool and less line at the base of your spool. What this creates is actually when you cast your line out, you're going to get more knots as you cast the line out, as opposed to if your line was laying level on your spool. So if you can see the spool here, there's more line at the base of the spool than the top. Now it's a very subtle amount of line, however it will greatly increase your knots when you do cast out. This being because when the line leaves the bottom of the spool where there is more line, it will actually overlap the line that's at the top of the spool and knot itself up. So you want to have your line as level as possible. Now the way to fix this lies in the washers that are on the shaft that your spool sits on. If there are too many washers on the shaft, what will happen is when you put your spool on, you will actually have a spool that's sitting too high, and this creates more line wrapping around the bottom of the spool. Now just the opposite, if you have you don't have enough washers on the spool, what's going to happen is your spool is going to sit too low and the line is going to pile up at the top of the spool. So in order to effectively get an even amount of line on your spool to lay nice and flat, you kind of have to mess around with that. Remove a washer or add washers. Most reels, when you buy them new, they'll have a package of extra washers, and that's what they're for, is to either add or remove so that you get a level amount of line on your spool. So as I stated before, the problem I was having with this reel, I was having too much line spooled at the bottom. It was piling up at the bottom of the spool, so what I did, I went ahead and removed this washer here. Now this is a nylon or plastic washer. You still want to replace it with another nylon or plastic washer. And if you have an extra spool laying around or you have different washers, then you can remove them from those spools. Like this is an extra reel that I have that I will actually take the washer out of and replace onto this spool, because this washer is smaller diameter. Not smaller diameter, but it's more narrow than the washer that was on it, this white one here. So I'm going to replace that one, put it on like so, put the spool back on, and then after you put your spool back on, that's when you want to re-spool your line, test to see if the line levels out. So let's go ahead and do that here. Alright, so there you have it. As you can see, this line is spooled up a lot more evenly than it was. So that will help eliminate those line twists and knots when I do cast out my line. So again, you will need to re-spool your line. Just have an extra reel with you like I did, and just switch the reel back and forth, take the line off, put the line back on, just switching the reel back and forth on your rod. That way you can easily transfer your line back and forth and test out to make sure you get nice even coverage on your spool when you braid up that braided line. Now if you have any questions about this, please feel free to leave a comment down below. Also be sure to check out saltstrong.com and Salt Strong's YouTube channel for more tips and information.
There's something about the water that'll give you peace, all by yourself or with your family. Live Salt Strong and wear the line today.